From chaos to panic. I can't breathe. My heart hammers against my ribs as I'm trying to break free. I'm 20 years old, kneeling in the snow. It's a moonlit night and I'm convinced I'm about to die. Everything around me spins. Dark pines and cold mountains blurred by tears I didn't even realize were falling. I gasp, desperate for air that just won't come. My fingers claws at the snow, and a single thought crashes through my mind. This is it. Am I dying? I'm dying. Just a couple of hours ago I was partying with friends on a ski trip, riding high after days of drinking and wild nights. But now, terror grips me harder than any hangover ever could. My chest is tight, my vision narrows. I can hear my heartbeat in my ears, louder than my shallow gasping breaths. Every nerve in my body is on fire with fear. I try to inhale, but it's like sucking air through a straw. I stumble from the warmth of the cabin into the freezing night, hoping the cold air will snap me out of whatever this is. It doesn't. Each breath is a fight. My hands shake uncontrollably. Am I having a heart attack? The thought flashes and panic intensifies. I've seen fights, I've seen chaos, even death, but I've never felt anything like this. This is fear like an animal feels when it knows it's about to be eaten. I want to call for help, but I'm frozen in confusion and dread, trying to make sense of how a fun trip went so horribly wrong. As I crouch in the snow, one terrifying thought echoes. How did I end up here? To answer that, we have to go back, way back, to the chaos that shaped me. Sweden, late 70s and 80s. I'm a little boy growing up in a tiny apartment on the rough side of town. Home should have felt safe, but mine wasn't. My mother raised us alone, doing her best, but we were dirt poor. Stability was something other families had. Our apartment was a revolving door of chaos. Drunken parties, screaming matches, sometimes full-on fights. Broken bottles glittered on the kitchen table. A daily reminder of lingering madness. Cigarette smoke clung to everything. I'd lie in my bed with a pillow over my head, trying to block out the sound of adults slurring and yelling in the other room. Laughter too loud, crashes too violent. Sometimes I'd wake to find strangers asleep on our couch. My mother's embrace was there for me during the day, but as the evening fell and the week rolled towards its end, that embrace disappeared into glassy eyes, slurred talk, and eventual chaos. And then there was my brother, 4 years older and angry at the world. He took it out on me, not with fists but with words, precise, cutting. "You're worthless, you little shit," he'd whisper when Mum wasn't looking. "No one cares about you. Why are you even alive?" He'd smile when he said it, a cruel grin that made it worse, and I believed him. He was my big brother. I thought he knew better than me, so when he called me stupid or useless, it sank deep. I was only a boy. What was around me shaped me. I was a raggedy little puppy dropped in a den of wolves. Mom didn't see most of it. She was exhausted, working 2 jobs, barely holding on. And she had her own demons. Some nights she and my brother screamed at each other like wild animals. Other nights she danced around the living room, drunk and laughing, while I watched from the shadows and hoped it would end quietly. The only constant in my childhood was chaos. I learned to tiptoe around anger, read the room like a sparrow scanning the sky for predators. I spent as little time at home as possible. As I grew, the streets became my refuge. I'd stay out late, riding bikes with friends, kicking a ball in the parking lot, anything to avoid going home. Outside, I could breathe a little easier. Not that the streets were particularly safe in the late 70s. When parents weren't around, kids, without phones, supervision, did crazy shit. To themselves, to others. But at least I was free to move away from trouble, free to run when some older boy wanted to beat me up. I had a choice that didn't exist inside our walls. So yes, I had friends, we laughed, we talked, but inside I felt like a ghost, hollow, unseen, like I didn't matter. Growing up in that world, I learned one thing fast: how to hide. I didn't cry when anyone else could see. I didn't raise my voice. I became an expert at feeling everything on the inside and showing nothing on the outside. Teachers called me shy. Classmates thought I was quiet. The truth was, I was terrified to show myself. Vulnerability was dangerous, so I stayed silent, guarded. Those were confusing, scary years. Me, a young boy trying to understand how the world worked. I saw my friends and their families, stability, love, warmth. I could see that something else existed. And what I just couldn't understand was, why me? Why was I born into dysfunction? Why wasn't my family perfect like theirs? Now I know that my childhood pain might seem small compared to others. I understand people have suffered far worse. Physical abuse, sexual abuse. Only human imagination limits how cruel we can be to each other. But pain isn't comparative, it's personal. My pain was at 100% for me. It shaped me. It damaged me for life. Even if I wasn't physically or sexually abused, it broke me. Just like others were broken in ways I'll never truly grasp. We are all the sum of our experiences. And mine, up to that point, weren't exactly the foundations for a happy life. As I got older, I started to see that no family is perfect. We all have our faults. But as a child, those things are hard to see. And even harder to understand. And just to reinforce my insecurity, along came Hannah. My first venture into love and what it could do to you. She lived in our neighborhood. Warm blue eyes, dimples when she smiled. We were both around 10 when I realized I loved her. Not puppy love, the real thing. And for a little while I thought she felt the same. In school I'd bump into her on purpose. Our eyes would meet and linger. We were both waiting for something to happen. I wanted to tell her everything. How her laugh lit up my world. How just thinking of her calmed the noise in my head. But every time I thought about saying the words, I'd hear my brother's voice. You're nothing. You're worthless. Those words caught in my throat and died there. So I said nothing. I smiled, stayed quiet, pretended. She waited and waited, and then she moved on. A few months later, I watched her hold hands with another boy at school. My chest went tight with regret, my heart shattered. But I couldn't blame her. I never gave her anything to hold on to. Didn't show anything, because then I wouldn't be hurt. What I didn't realize was I was already hurting bad. High school made it worse. Other kids were dating, shouting, laughing in the hallways. I kept my head down, slipped into class, did the work, slipped out. I had secret loves I told no one about and showed even less. I had friends, good friends. We joked, talked about stuff. Madonna, Beastie Boys, the stain on Gorbachev's head. but whenever someone tried to get close, ask me about me, I shut down, froze them out. By the time I graduated, I had spent my entire childhood and teen years in emotional lockdown, watching life from behind a glass wall I didn't know how to break. At the time, the Berlin Wall was crumbling and people had hope for a brighter future. But inside me, my own wall was stronger and bigger than ever. Hi, if this story meant something to you, if it helped pass the time or just made you feel a little less alone, consider subscribing. It helps more than you think. You're also welcome to share it or take a look at one of the books I've written. They carry many of the same themes: life, struggle, the search for meaning. I'll keep posting as long as I can. And yes, some episodes might be rough around the edges, the sound, the pacing, even the voice, but that's the point. I'm not aiming for perfection, just honesty. Life's not polished, neither is this. Take care of yourselves, and if you're doing fine, look around. Someone near you might need a little care. Thanks for listening and for being here.